It may look like a simple shed, but a tragic combination of factors turned it into a death trap for 4 people at the former Sullivan Mine outside Kimberley, BC. 1 worker and 3 would-be rescuers entered and succumbed to the low oxygen levels inside the shed. Let's take a look at the importance of identifying potential confined spaces before a tragedy occurs.
Confined spaces are potentially deadly spaces. People may not realize the kinds of accidents that could happen if they go into these areas without being properly prepared.
There are any number of stories where people have entered into these places for many years without incident, and then all of a sudden some condition changes, and that change is the thing that leads to what makes that space deadly.
This lack of awareness that a space that was safe yesterday could be lethal today is what makes confined spaces so deadly. With the Sullivan Mine accident, oxygen-depleted air generated by a dump at the site was carried into the shed through a water drainage pipe. The process that led to the oxygen-depleted atmosphere had never been seen before. But what had been seen before was the natural human tendency to rush in for the rescue.
One of the real problems that we have with confined spaces, and particularly with rescue, is that when a worker goes down into a confined space, into a barge or a hole or a sump, and you're there with that worker, and you see that worker fall down to the bottom of the ladder, your first reaction is to go in and help them out. You want to go down that hole, and you want to grab your buddy out, and you want to haul him out and put him out on the deck and do whatever needs to be done with him. You want to go down that ladder and save that guy's life.
In Kimberley, 3 of the 4 people who died were trying to perform rescue. There was another incident a few years ago in a winery in the Okanagan. One man became stuck headfirst in a tank with a low oxygen concentration. To free him, a worker pushed him all the way into the tank and then jumped in to rescue him. Both men died as a result.
So there are some things that just may not be recognizable as confined space issues, and you have to be very, very careful to assess the risk and take your precautions. They may seem kind of overkill in some cases. For example, testing for oxygen before you go into a shed may seem like overkill to some people. But the one time that shed has a low oxygen content, that monitor, that testing is going to save your life.
The accidents that we know about, that we read about in the paper, are highly unusual events. This kind of thing occurs in caves, it occurs in industrial facilities like this one. It occurred in Kimberley with the mine tragedy there. It occurred in a well pit in Alberta where 2 kids died. The family had entered that well pit for 25 years without incident. Something happened, something changed, and that one-time change then led to the conditions that became lethal.
So what can you do? Identify the confined spaces in your workplace, learn to work safely, and, unless you are properly trained and equipped, never attempt to rescue.